Biden, Kamala Harris, or Karine Jean-Pierre ever lied?
I don't know. What are you talking about?
I mean,
I know where
you're-
you're going with
I mean,
this,
you're-
but that's not the point. Donald Trump stands up at the podium every day and delivers lies.
Your speech is about the truth, and one thing about Biden that has always vexed Republicans is that he spends a lot of time talking about him being the center of truth and the restoration of the soul of the nation, and yet he and his people spend a heck of a lot of time undermining that very talking point, up to and including this year with the massive cover-up of his own
Scott,
condition.
how about
And so
Trump lying to the American people during COVID? Right?
About what?
How about that? I mean, drink bleach, right? I could go
Didn't
on
happen.
and on.
Debunked.
That it's not as bad as the flu. I mean, all of those
Debunked.
things. And the reality is, 500.
You're doing it right now.
500,000 people lost their lives because the president wasn't honest with the country
I don't
about the
understand. Are you
dangers
saying
of
that-
COVID.
are you saying the virus was listening to
my point
Donald
is that
Trump?
lies have consequences, and that is.
I just want to make sure I understand that your position is that Donald Trump's words induced the virus to kill people.
No, what Donald Trump's words did was prevented people from protecting themselves
Come on.
and their neighbors, and 500,000 plus people lost their lives.
See-
That was my point. And more importantly, because of his lies, he didn't create an infrastructure from the governors all the way
gave
down
you
to
the
get
vaccine.
shots in
He
arms,
gave you the
to get the
vaccine.
economy open again.
Jay,
so lies have consequences, and that's
honestly,
what Biden was talking about today.
honestly,
We have to be aware of
so
that.
This is
And
crazy.
honest
I'm
about
sorry,
it.
this is insane.
So
What is he talking about? Is that a legit warning?
The subtext of that was that all of the so-called oligarchs that supported him in 2020 got tired of him. So Mark Zuckerberg gave him $419 million to warp the 2020 election in key states, and he had no problem with that oligarch. Reid Hoffman, another billionaire, funded the E. Jean Carroll suit to go after Donald Trump. He had no problem with that oligarch. He gave the Medal of Freedom, Citizen Freedom, to George Soros, who pretty much did his best to destroy the criminal justice system in our big cities. So he's not credible. And when he talks about misinformation, the FBI conspired with Facebook to censor stories about the laptop that it was authentic, which it was. And then 51 so-called authorities supplied him on the prompt of Anthony Blinken before the debate with Donald Trump in 2020 to lie that it was Russian disinformation. They cooked it up. He cooked it up.
This little stunt, this stitch that Democrats and their pundits like to do, they need to stop this, right? Like, the more I keep looking at these confirmation hearings, the more I'm starting to realize, damn, we really are run by like mediocre people. Like, I'm just being honest now about our politicians. And it's always amazed me when they try to hit you with some line of questioning and you're looking at them like I'm looking at them like, what's the point of that question? You're not asking anything about the function of the job. It's almost like you just want to prove a narrative. And you want this person to confirm or deny your narrative so you can run back to your constituents and say, see, they want to do tax cuts for the rich without actually explaining the nuance of a different approach. Look, the reason why I don't get into all this like narrative battle about politics and this stuff with the left is that I believe the reasons that I believe is because I believe this is a better approach than whatever the left is trying to do, whatever the alternative is, right? And I can give you reasons for why I think this is a better approach. Right now, you're hearing talks, you saw from the intro, Joe Biden gave a speech and he talked about avalanche of misinformation. And you saw this liberal pundit lecturing Scott Jennings, but doesn't want to admit that Joe Biden, Democrats were participating in lying campaigns too. From the cheap fakes, Biden's mentally fit to be president, even though 3 months into his presidency, they knew that he would be challenged mentally to do the job for president of the United States of America. Okay. You lied about the 100 laptop story. You had more people die of COVID under Joe Biden's administrations than Donald Trump's. Yet you still want to sit here and pretend. And she just finished lying, which Scott Jennings pointed out, about Donald Trump saying people should drink bleach. Trump never said that. Liberals misinterpret what Trump said and thought he said that. That's the reality of what happened during COVID, right? But they never want to check themselves. And now they're wrecking themselves. Before I go into some of my thoughts about the economy, fossil fuels, like these are real policy discussions that emotions, narratives, perception is not going to help. It's not going to help us towards a solution, right? And this is what I've been talking about politics. Politics is not solution based. It's give me elected based. It's I want you scared base. They want to manage the problem instead of trying to solve the problem. And I think this is what leads to why we have such mid politicians. I'm just being honest. We have a lot of mid politicians. But I digress. I want you to check out this clip of them talking about an oligarchy, the rich. Should we be controlled by the rich? And I'm gonna highlight something about the hypocrisy from the Democrats trying to point out this talking point. Let's take a look.
I think so. No. Remember, she said
I agree.
We have Trump coming and all the bad things about concentration of wealth. Americans appreciate the ability to pursue the American dream every day, and we do not push down on success ever. So yes, Musk is rich. So what? Zuck.
I don't think
rich.
the issue is how
and
rich they
everybody else comes to this country almost drowning in rivers or getting cut under barbed wires to get in here to pursue their dream. Why do we ever think that we should bash their success?
Actually,
What are you
actually,
guys
okay,
talking about?
actually, I want you to get it,
Yeah.
but let me just say this. It is not about how rich they are.
Exactly.
Just to observe what he's
They're not
talking about
rich
here.
enough, is that what you're
No.
saying?
I'm saying that actually what got them there, Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, Jeff Bezos, they all got to where they are because they came up with good ideas. They built big, good
Let's
businesses.
punish them.
And no. And they did so largely without having to do what they are doing now. The fact that they have to do it now, I think, actually is a change for them. They were not going to Washington themselves groveling toward the political leaders to try to keep their businesses afloat.
Letting people get rich. It's about not letting rich people control the political process and not having our politicians captured by those rich people such
It's
that they
fair,
can't institute
but I just want you to
regulation
know the country-
and common sense laws to make sure that the people at the top don't abuse the people at the bottom. And our system in Washington is broken.
That's
It always
fair.
has.
It's all fair, but half the country's still wondering how Joe Biden got rich.
Yeah. Okay. So here.
How did he get rich?
But if
Okay,
Joe
maybe
Biden
here's the
got
thing. I
rich,
think-
How did he get rich? Does anybody
Okay,
understand how that
I
happened?
actually
Thousand
think that,
times
Kevin,
richer.
your question about Joe Biden's legacy and how he will be seen is
wrote a book,
actually
by the way.
extremely important
Wow.
because I think it's not just Republicans who are asking the question, is Joe Biden going to be looked back on fondly? Democrats are too.
People want to get mad about government officials. I want to get mad at these government officials because they're sitting here pretending that because someone has the ability, like end of the day, we like competence because people get disproportionately rewarded from competence. If you found out, hey, this one person is super brilliant, super smart, super insightful, and I want to pay them for their knowledge, their time, their resources, their product, you'll do it because you believe that product, that insight, that information, that service is more valuable than you holding on to $50. Amazon Prime, Facebook with the ads. The companies pay ads on Facebook because they see, oh, look, we get more exposure than we did in other options, other services. There's outcomes tied to reasons behind why people will pay for something. People want to get mad at Jeff Bezos is a billionaire, but y'all sitting down paying Amazon Prime every month because you like the convenience of being able to get something within a day or two in your front door. You pay for that convenience. You find that valuable, and that's why you pay Jeff Bezos. And one thing that socialists like Bernie Sanders don't seem to understand is that capitalism is an interconnected system. We're all interdependent on each other, right? We're social creatures, correct? So socialists, they're like, oh, the workers is what matters because they happen to be the majority. But end of the day, the works, the efforts wouldn't be rewarded. You wouldn't be paid what you get paid if someone up top, like someone who manages it, who allocates resources and funds and they are not resourceful with it, you wouldn't get paid the money you get paid if you weren't valuable. And this is what the problem I have with a lot of these socialists is that they believe they're entitled to something that they didn't create. How can you be entitled to the fruits of someone else's labor? If Jeff Bezos had a plan, Amazon didn't exist in the 2000s. Actually, it did. I mean, in the 90s, Amazon was like a young company. 96, I believe Amazon was created. I believe. I don't remember. Don't give me the history of Amazon. And you wouldn't want to work for Amazon. You wouldn't want to be Jeff Bezos working 80 hours a week on trying to get something done with minimum reward. A socialist would never take that. But once it's successful, once it's nice and big, now you want to sit here and try to tell people how he should manage it, how he should spend the money. Well, that's the equivalent of arrogance. You got Nancy Pelosi making $250 million as as a public servant. How you make that much money? Politicians are nothing more than glorified administrators. And the problem with socialists is they believe the government can manage money more than you know how to manage money. To me, a government couldn't even manage $1,000. If you give a capitalist $1,000, he'll find a way to make it $10,000. If you give a socialist $1,000, he'll get into debt $10,000. Tell me I'm lying. Socialism incentivizes laziness. It doesn't change, it doesn't evolve, it doesn't move because you got people who are making decisions where the feedback they get, whether it's good feedback or bad feedback, the results never change for them. That's the government. And these people are not in a position to actually manage resources effectively. And when you get business people like Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, who's more of an investor, they can see how inefficient the government is and be like, yo, this is the reform that the American people wanted. And instead of embracing that, they'll try to call it an oligarchy.
When you have a small number of multi-billionaires who have enormous economic, media, and political power, would you agree with President Biden, who last night stated, and I quote, "An oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights, and freedoms," end of quote. That's what President Biden said last night. I agree with him. Do you?
Senator Sanders, I enjoyed our visit.
Talk a little bit closer into the mic.
I enjoyed our visit, and I hope you got my follow-up materials on the discussions, my previous writings on the tariffs and China. And look, the three billionaires who you listed that all made the money themselves. Mr. Musk came to the country as an immigrant.
I understand that, but what I'm asking you is, when you have a handful of people like Musk, who will soon be part of the Trump administration, and others, when you have three people owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society, when these people have enormous influence over the media, when they spend huge amounts of money in both political parties to elect candidates, what Biden said last night is we're moving toward an oligarchy. I'm asking you that question. Do you think, forget how they made their money, do you think that when so few people have so much wealth and so much economic and political power, that that is an oligarchic form of society?
Well, I would note that President Biden gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom to two people who I think would qualify for his oligarchs. So
this is not a condemnation of any one individual. I'm just asking you, would so few people have so much wealth and power?
But
do you think that that is an oligarchic form of society?
Senator, I think it depends on the ability to move up and down the income.
No, that's not really the answer. I mean, even if you had that mobility, no matter who those individuals might be. All right.
The top 1% of taxpayers pay 40% of the taxes. They're responsible for 40% of the tax revenue that's generated by the government. The rich people in this country could literally create a budget shortfall for the United States of America if they do this one simple thing. You ready? You ready? I revoke my American citizenship. They pay their last taxes for the following year, and after that, 40% of the budget cut just like that because the rich people decided, we're going to go. So is it we have an oligarchy problem, or do we have a spending problem in our government that making us more reliant on the rich than we need to be? That's my question for socialists, because they always want to complain that, oh, if only we tax the rich 50% of their income, 60% of their income. In history, that has never worked. Ask FDR. FDR, the tax rate was like 90%. You know what all the rich people did? All the rich people said, okay, we're going to put all our money in government-backed treasuries. And that pissed off FDR because they didn't make a lot of money that year. And he couldn't tax them because all their money was, they already gave their money to the government. And the government was giving them interest based on that money. You can't finesse people from their stuff. That's like me coming to you and saying, hey, you finished busting your ass 80 hours a week. And I'm sitting here saying, yo, you got to give me half of what you made today. Huh? You're going to find ways to circumvent me, find ways to cheat me out of the money. Hey, you owe me 50% of what you worked today. Oh, I didn't work that hard today, so I only made $40. Really? This is what rich people will do. Because at a human level, if someone said, hey, I'm going to take 60% of your income, and this is what I love about socialists. They want the rich to pay everything, and they don't think they're making a trade-off there. Let me ask you something. If you found out someone was 60% responsible for all the money created for your government to run, you don't think that's power in of itself? This is the problem with progressive tax brackets. This is why I'm in favor of a flat tax. If everybody across the board paid 50% of their money towards the government, that's a fairer system than this little progressive-ish that progressive think is a good idea. Because you may see that, oh, we're taking more wealth from the wealthy. All I see that as you made the government more dependent on the wealthy. Just think about it. Progressive tax brackets make government more dependent on the rich. This is why even if you say rich people can't give big money, even if you say rich people can't vote, rich people will still have influence over the government because of the fact that they pay most of the taxes and they know it. This is why they get all these little tax loopholes. Remember President Trump, what he said? Hey, I took advantage of those tax cuts, and that was during Obama. Because God forbid the rich leave. That's for any company. That's for any nation. Because as a nation, and this is why I think more in that terms, because I'm a self-described nationalist. As a nation, it's in your best interest to attract talented and competent people. And how do you attract talented and competent people? You pay them. You pay them based on the value that they bring into the company, into the country. Capitalists create jobs. Socialists think they can create jobs by creating government jobs. Well, what they create is redundancies, inefficiencies. You got 3 people doing one job. And this is the argument. This is the argument I have is that, yo, you can't just tax people to oblivion. Rich people are people too. Like, it's crazy to me that we're almost like a politics driven on jealousy and envy. And we find reasons to justify it. And that's how I see the Democrats. The Democrats are a party of grievance, jealousy, envy. And they use that grievance, jealousy, and envy to psych people up to vote for them. And then they get destroyed by their own negativity. Look at what's going on in California. People calling for recalls now. The Democrats will say, oh, the Republicans don't care about infrastructure. But then you look at California that's run by nothing but Democrats, and they don't know how to manage their infrastructure to the point where some of their fire hydrants and the things they needed was not well maintained, was faulty. But they don't sit you in line in your face and say, yeah, we care about infrastructure. Yeah, okay. But I digress. I think I went on a long tangent there, man. You can get me talking about socialism, capitalism for years and decades. But, I digress. If anyone has to worry about an oligarchy, I think it's the Democratic Party, because majority of rich people, like I said on this channel, 77% of billionaires, rich people, the ultra wealthy are Democrats. Look at the places that Democrats go to raise money. They go to these cabals. They go to the galas. You don't see Republicans going to those places, but they're talking about, oh yeah, we're being run by an oligarchy. Oh, we're scared of people with influence and power. Look at Hollywood. Hollywood's ran by nothing but liberals. Look at the messaging they push out. Everything's progressive. Everything's bent on democratic worldview. Yet they want to talk about an oligarchy. You're like 20 years too late, Joe Biden. People have been seeing the oligarchy, and we revolted against it. You're just mad that we revolted against your oligarchy. Because this is all it comes across to me is the pot calling the kettle black. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be interested to hear what you guys have to say. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching the end of the video. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.